I'd just like to mention a little bit about the story behind the Panhandle Pathway. And this goes back 6 years this month when an organization and information meeting was held in Winnemac to explore the possibility of building a hiking, biking trail on the right-of-way of the former Pennsylvania Railroad from Winnemac through Star City and Royal Center to Kenneth. Now, this name Kenneth, it's not a town per se, but rather the location of a switch that was on the former Pennsylvania Railroad. The right-of-way, minus the rails, of course, was rail banked by the U.S. Department of Transportation with the intent to create a recreational trail while preserving the right-of-way in the event a railroad might someday be reconstructed. This presented the opportunity for the creation of a recreational trail such as we see today. Originally, the right-of-way was owned by the Indiana Trails Fund, a nonprofit with the mission of creating a trails network throughout Indiana. To make a long story short, you're probably thinking, yeah, this guy doesn't know how. There was much enthusiasm for the trail. Local volunteers formed the Friends of the Panhandle Pathway, a nonprofit corporation, and they set to work. I cannot say enough about these volunteers. As I've said many times in the past, this group, the Friends of the Panhandle Pathway, is a textbook example of how an organization with motivated people can accomplish great things. We all owe them a debt of gratitude. With funds from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources and local donations, the first 6 miles of the trail was completed from Winnemac to Star City in 2009. Work on the next 16 miles, which we celebrate today, was immediately begun thereafter. And now I'd like to introduce John Baucom, President of the Panhandle Pathway. John? Now, if there's a spark plug for this project, it's John.
The trail to us provides the infrastructure to allow people to enjoy an alternative to motorized transportation. The trail provides the infrastructure for people to bike, hike, rollerblade, and it's very important.
I think so, yeah, yeah, and it's important. Do you think that it enhances the desirability of the community as an economic entity?
Definitely. Yes,
okay.
Most definitely. And it makes the area more attractive, not only to the local residents, but to those coming to visit from outside the area. And let's face it, out here in the rural environment, it is very attractive.
Yeah.
And it is very enjoyable to get away from the large city and the noise and the hustle and bustle and come out and enjoy the fresh air.
What was the most challenging part of trying to develop this trail now that it's opened again to the south?
It was the fact that we were doing something that we had no clue what we were doing. We knew what we wanted to do, we just didn't know how to go about and do it.
Okay.
It was that learning and doing, constant learning and doing. And we had the vision, we knew what we wanted, but we just asked a lot of questions. Well, how do you do this? Well, how do you do that? Where do you get this? Where do you get that? And that process is time consuming, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we accomplished our goal.
Can you give any advice to trails, or if you have communities which some people are fighting the idea of the notion of a trail, how does it help?
I would say go to those who have been through it before, okay. Discuss how they did it, and then evaluate how that would apply to your opportunity.
Okay.
And take away the things that you think are going to work, leave those behind that don't apply, and don't reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
And that was a direction we took early on, that we need to figure out how to get this done. We had no clue how to do it.
Okay.
So.
And the consultant was of help, was
very much so.
And who else was a major factor in trying to
other trails that
groups.
we approached and had discussions
like the nickel
with.
plate and
nickel plate,
Mike.
the pumpkin vine,
Okay.
the monon,
So
cardinal.
you did contact those folks?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, early on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very
and
good.
Stayed in touch.
Okay, very good.
We couldn't get our hands around the time factor. We've not done this before, so we didn't know how long should this take to accomplish. So, you know, we're working from this point of ignorance.
Yeah, I understand.
But it made it challenging and enjoyable.
Now we'll hear from Dawn Crow. She is an architect and the president of Green 3 Corporation, responsible for the design of the project.
Thank you, Dan. It's so great to be here. We've all worked very, 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 and I couldn't say very enough times, hard to get this project to the point it is today. I work on trails all over the state, and there are so many of my good friends that I work with here representing other trails. Richard, obviously, representing the Indiana Trails Fund. And it really is a community of good-hearted, hardworking souls that allows us to have opportunities like this to have ribbon cuttings. When I work across the state, one of the things I hear very often is, well, why are you building a trail? We need that money for roads. And the way I look at it is, roads are about cars. Trails are about people. And I think what's interesting, and especially telling on this project, was when we were trying to decide the rules, to put on the rules sign, the guys had a lot of debate about what they should say, and I do believe one of them, and you might be able to guess who it was, said, well, why do we have to put everything on there people can't do? Why don't we put stuff on there that people can do? Like smile at your neighbor, kiss your wife, say hi to people that pass you on the trail. And I think that's just the kind of organization that the Friends of the Panhandle Pathway are. They built this trail for their neighbors. They built this trail for you. They worked so very hard, and I can't say enough about the original group that asked me to come to town to just chat with them to see what they might be able to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Thanks to Green 3 and for all your efforts. Okay, next is Bob Bronson.
Bob Bronson, Mario V on Hoosier Rails to Trails. And I know you're with DNR. And what's your title?
I'm the chief of the State and Community Outdoor Recreation Planning section, or sometimes chief of grants. That's I work mainly with outdoor rec planning, but mostly with federal and state monies, divvying them out to not-for-profits and municipalities and such for parks and trails.
How was it that DNR was involved with the promulgation of this southern half of the Panhandle here?
When they originally, the Trails group, the Friends of the Panhandle, applied for, we administer the Recreational Trails Program monies, and it's a matching grant, an 80-20 matching grant, and they applied for the first 5 miles coming out of Winnemac to Star City. And they got that grant, and we're going to have a limestone screen trail, accessible trail, and a bridge and such. And then about that same, maybe a year or two later, the governor came up with some state money, actually over $19 million of state money, and they were awarded another $900,000 to then try to do as much as they could on this section, which they weren't going to be able to complete. And then probably a year and a half later, the stimulus monies came about.
Okay.
And we combined all three, and with serendipity, it all kind of like materialized, and boom, then there was enough money to finish it all within about a three-year period of time, which is for rail trail and in the state. That is record-breaking time. I mean, there's trail people have been working on rail trails for 18 years, like for example the B&O.
Yeah.
So it just all kind of, and we were able to move monies from the state trail to help, because the actual stimulus money, they needed about $250,000 just for architectural engineering fees, which wasn't included in the project, so it was only for construction. And so they were able to use some of the state trail grant money, and it all kind of mixed, and yeah, here we are.
Wow, that's terrific. Now, so it's important to get the right kind of consultant, and it's important to get a buy-in from what other agencies it's important to contact.
Well, I mean, NDOT is one of they have most of the money.
Okay.
Because both the stimulus money went through them, as well as the transportation enhancement monies, as well as, you know, actually the RTP money is actually federal highway money, but we administer that at DNR.
Okay.
So it's, you know, if you want to do a paved, you know, with amenities, I mean, yeah, planning and all that works, but this was probably I didn't ever hear the final numbers on the stimulus monies, but I'm thinking it was roughly over $2 million. So this is about a $3.12 million project. So it takes money. That's kind of the key. And like I said, there are pots of money just for that at the federal level, and these guys just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Our next speaker, Max Metzger, representing Royal Center in Cass County. Max?
Well, they asked me to speak about what the Panhandle Pathway has done for Cass County. And I think it's done something for our health. We have a financial gain here, and I'll talk a little bit about culturally. Memorial Hospital promoted ways to keep our bodies tuned up for many years. They won national recognition for their River Bluff Trail, where in the summertime, close to 2,500 people per week use the trail. So the Panhandle offers a way in Cass County, also in Pulaski County, and I'll say it again, provides at no cost, a clean, hard surface to keep our bodies flexible and nimble, to strengthen our muscles and our hearts at no cost. Ride, walk, or run, Cass County has a chance to be a healthy county. We also need to be safe. There's a lady here in the audience that it's a good thing she had her helmet on when she fell off her bike. You'll be able to pick her out later on. Financially, we did all right. You've heard some of that. Someone else could have used that money that was made available to construct the Panhandle Pathway. But a group of dedicated people from Winnemac, with assistance from Memorial Hospital and some dedicated volunteers, made the trail a reality. It wasn't easy, and they still need money for the upkeep of the trail. I've seen groups of riders stop at the local eateries to eat. One night, some riders stopped at our Family Life Center from our church. They wanted to use our bathrooms. We didn't charge them. So money has been spent to have the right equipment to ride on the trail. Culturally, this trail tells us a lot about our ancestors. It goes from Kenneth, once a paper town, which means it was a town that was only on paper. So it goes along with Trimmer, 21 miles to Winnemac. Horticulture you will see on the trail. Many different species of trees, plants, grasses, birds, other animals. There was a cat down here a little while ago. And people. Families with big bikes, with their children on smaller bikes, even with training wheels. You'll have to listen if you're on the trail, but somebody might come up behind you and say, "On your left, on your left." Walkers every day, especially in the morning. And one biker told me he put his boom box on his bike when he got off work at 11 p.m. He was going out on the trail, but he didn't like to listen to all those night sounds along the trail. We have a lot of dedicated people to thank for making an abandoned stretch of land into a place to help keep us healthy. That will generate some money and keep our ancestral heritage alive today.
Bike's back here. Where's your bike, Bob?
Oh, he's calling you out.
race or what?
That didn't work.
No, it really doesn't work. That's for the real picture.
Oh, that's funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, young friends, the trail is open for your enjoyment. Thank you.
All right.
They'll move. Camera call.
Steve, did you get a